It looks like we're going to be picking up a Steampunk Armor Set which has been crafted by the dwarves from the realm of Svartalfheim, as well as a robot lion mount, a raven skin, and 4 unique dwarven weapons. This is of course all thanks to Pedder, who's found all of this stuff in the game files, as well as Ibsart for whipping up some awesome pictures. So thanks very much, gents, and let's dive straight in. Now, you've probably already guessed it, but this is very much likely to be the next Helix pack coming to the game, as Pedder has actually found it referenced as such in the game files. But let's first take a look at this mount, and even though I won't actually be running with this disc line, which is what it's called in the game, it does have a very cool steam animation that radiates out of it when it's stationary and even follows you when you're on a full tilt gallop. Even though this mount isn't for me, I do appreciate the design. It's definitely not a different coloured lion reskin per se, and it looks like it could belong in the Matrix films with those steam cables around its mane. We've also got the steel crow, and it's described as being an animated metal bird, which I think sums this up pretty nicely, and it isn't actually a bad looking raven all things considered, and perhaps worth a pickup and redder if you do like the steampunk aesthetic. It also looks pretty cool on your shoulder, so I reckon you could probably get some decent photo mode pics out of it if you do decide to pull the trigger on this one. Now, when it comes to the Steampunk Armor Set, it has been described as being a product of ingenuity of the dwarves that mustn't ever be underestimated, as this work is truly out of this world, and I think this is a little nod to the dwarven realm of Svartalfheim, which is most likely what we're going to be getting as our location in the 3rd DLC next year. It can also be upgraded from silver to gold, and of course we get more gold armor in this game here, folks. It's a no-brainer. But Valkyrie in our Discord community has also made a great comparison to this set being similar to that of one in Phoenix Rising, and I haven't honestly played that game myself, but I can definitely see the comparisons there. And the same thing goes for the Iron Man Mark 1 suit from the first Iron Man film. It looks very similar, which I think is pretty cool, all things considered as well. But stat-wise, it is a poison build through and through. If you do get this set and equip all pieces, you'll pick up an increase in poison build-up and also release a poison or steam cloud when you actually reach 5 stacks, which you can of course obtain by hitting light and heavy attacks. The capes themselves come in blue for the gold set and red for the silver, and you also pick up this cool steam animation just off the left hand shoulder, which I think is a nice touch. Now, moving on to some steampunk weapons, and it looks like we pick up 2 in this set. First we have the Steel-Wrought bow, and I think this is probably my favourite out of this whole pack, just purely because when you actually aim and hold back the bowstring to charge, the steam bow actually turns red when it's at max power. It's a very small detail, but I think it's pretty slick, and I'll most likely grab this one from Redder when it does drop in 2023. And secondly, we also pick up another spear in this game called the Cog Spear, and it's a pretty funky looking weapon with a cool rotating steam orb just below the blade. Interestingly though, when it comes to bonuses on this weapon, you can combine it with the Vengeance of Thor ability, which is essentially when you just charge up your weapon for a monster big hit, and when you do this you actually gain a plus 32 attack bonus. So in theory you could actually get the poison AoE proc from the armor set, as well as charging your spear at the same time for some decent AoE damage. And it's not my favourite buffs for an armor set, but to be honest with you, that's okay, because if it is a Helix set, we don't want the best armor buffs behind a paywall. Now, we also pick up the obligatory Longship Helix pack scheme, which is very steampunk orientated. I think it's more of the same from what we've seen from the armor sets, with a lion figurehead on the prow and a steam propelled pipes and a cosmetic fin on the stern. Ava also picks up some tattoos here as well, some nice cog mechanical orientated artwork here, particularly on the back, but nothing to really shout from the rooftops about in my opinion. And by the way folks, before we do tuck into these dwarven weapons, if you found any value or learned anything new from the video so far, a very swift like down below would be absolutely tremendous. It genuinely helps me out a lot, so thank you very much. Now, dwarven weapons, we've got 4 here that look like they're going to be coming to a pack of their own, and it also looks like it's going to be a Helix drop from what Pedder has found. They're described as being made by the finest smiths in the forges of Svartalfheim, so another nod to that 3rd DLC that looks to be based there. First up though, we have the Dokkalfar axe, and Dokkalfar is actually the name in Norse mythology to describe the dark elves of Svartalfheim. I've got no doubt I've probably pronounced that incredibly wrong, so if you know the correct pronunciation, let me know down below. But interestingly, on all of these weapons, by the way, the bonuses are actually based around weapon damage increasing after each kill, so you can actually obtain a total of 5 stacks, which means 5 kills, but the buff itself actually resets after 3 kills, and this has actually got me a little bit bamboozled, to be honest, and perhaps I'm being a little bit slow on the uptake here, but it seems like to get the full 5 bonuses, we need to kill 5 enemies to reach it, and the weapon buff then resets after 3 kills. So how does that work? I'm not exactly sure. If you've got any ideas, let me know down below. Perhaps I am being a bit of a donkey here. But the same kind of stats apply for Skadi's string bow, by the way, which increases headshot damage after each kill. So you can actually reach a maximum of 20 headshot damage with a stack of 5, but of course, again, it's going to reset after 3 kills, so only a maximum of 30 is my interpretation so far. Saying that though, it is a very good looking bow, and thanks to Ibsart for snapping a few more pics for us here. It looks fantastic. Now, thirdly, we have Gram, which is my favourite weapon out of all of these dwarven weapons here, and I think that's probably because it looks like the Elven sword sabers from Lord of the Rings, particularly Elrond's weapon Hadafang, and it is described in the game as perhaps being the legendary weapon used to slay the dragon Fafnir. And if you've watched some of the channel's videos before, you know that Peder has actually found Fafnir referenced as a character in the Svartalfheim DLC that we potentially come across, so very interesting there. Speaking of which, he's also found lots more information about that DLC and Cassandra, by the way, so more videos coming soon about that, and if it does interest you, it may be worth clicking the notification bell so you can find your way back easily. Now, when it comes to stats on this weapon, we've still got that ambiguous stacking feature here, but this weapon itself increases your ability damage rather than your weapon damage, so a little bit of a mix up there. Now, our fourth dwarven weapon is called Myrkalfar, and it's a one-handed axe that looks quite nice, but the bonus is a weapon that stacks for crit, and I love a bit of crit myself, so I'd actually be keen to pick this one up and redder if it ever does come into circulation. And speaking of circulation, Peder's also found the Ealdorman and Discovery Tour rewards, and he's cracking the whip at the moment, so I will be getting another video out about that soon, so stay tuned for that. But with that being said, I just want to say a big thanks to him and Ibzark for all their work, so we can actually get a first-hand look at all of this stuff coming to the game. And big congrats to Jabak and Donut for winning our weekly photo mode competition in our Discord community. That is an absolutely tremendous photo make, and also do come stop by if you haven't already. It would be awesome to see you in the lobby. Anyway, I hope you found the video interesting. I'm sure I'll catch you in the next one, and as usual, coffee's on me.